Well, hello. Welcome to the Colonel and the Kid podcast. My name is Gregory L. Heitmann. You can call me Greg or Heitmann. I'll answer to either one. Don't really have any nicknames. As we go along, you'll find out more about that. But I'm bringing this podcast to you, especially today. I'm just jumping right in. No professional production. Nobody else here to interview and discuss the topics of the day. I waited around trying to get some help and some guests, but people are very camera shy and very reluctant to be recorded and hear their voice played back. I'm curious to hear myself too, so it's going to be interesting, and I'm open to all feedback. Hopefully it's positive, but whatever you got to say, what do you have for criticism, just go ahead, let me know. This is the inaugural podcast for the Colonel and the Kid. I'm hoping you'll bear with me as we get going. It's going to be pretty bare bones. You can see my graphic art here. That's me, and that's the Colonel. I am the Kid. That's the Colonel and the Kid podcast. This is really inspired by the memory of my grandfather. I've written a memoir about my grandfather. Basically, my relationship with him. His name was Lieutenant Colonel Edwin P. Hagen, Jr. So I just called him Grandpa. But a lot of people called him the Colonel. So that kind of inspired the Colonel and the Kid podcast. And I think there's probably going to be some confusion for people out there. When they hear the Colonel and the Kid, they're going to think about the Colonel and Elvis Presley, because the Colonel was Elvis's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, and there was a recent movie about Elvis and his manager, and I believe Tom Hanks played Colonel Tom Parker, and so Austin Butler, I think, played Elvis. I haven't seen it. Probably should see it. I heard it's good. Maybe I'll see it sometime here. Anyway, that's a little bit of the introduction to the podcast. I do have a few topics today, and I do have to say that I'm not sure what the theme of the podcast is quite yet. I have some ideas of talking about culture and sports and living, better way to live. And that's sort of what the memoir is. It's sort of the idea of trying to pass down some of the wisdom that my grandpa tried to teach me. Don't know if it took. At least early on, I don't think it took very well, and it's taken me a long time to get to a place in my life where I understood more and was able to capture those in words. And the memoir itself is strictly in the Kindle format right now. I'm hoping to get a print edition, but I have so many photos involved that it takes up a lot of memory, and it's going to be quite expensive to print, I think. So for the time being, I'm just doing a digital Kindle format. And on top of that, I only have the first volume done. The first volume is 20 chapters, and I think there's going to be 3 volumes, 20 chapters each. Right now there's only 52 chapters done, so I'm not sure exactly how I might be able to squeeze in 8 more chapters. I'm thinking about it, but first chapters are published on Kindle and they're available. And if you listen to this podcast, you may just be able to avoid even purchasing anything, because I think I'm just going to go ahead and try to share a chapter on each podcast I do, and you'll have at least an audio of the memoir itself. And it's going to be a challenge to see my read aloud skills come into effect, and we'll see if they see if they bring a laugh and if they improve over time. Curious about that myself. So anyway, look forward to that. I know that, like I said, this is the inaugural podcast, and we're kicking it off today, September 16th, 2025. Um, middle of September. We're getting ready for fall and hunting season. So I'm going to try to stay dedicated to getting one podcast out a week. Hopefully I can get some more help for production and get some guests in here to discuss things and you know, the day's news, and always going back to the skeleton that really is the Colonel and the kid part, because I do have I feel I do have some life lessons to share through my grandfather's words and trying to teach me stuff, and I think it's could provide some laughs for you and maybe some entertainment and information. And it's the classic infotainment podcast. So anyway, like I said, I'm distracted by my printout of this great title feature here, and I don't know if maybe I can edit in some of the images from the actual memoir itself as I go through that. But I only have a black and white printer, so that's why this nice black and white picture is up there right now. And I printed out the title of the podcast, The Colonel and the Kid, but since I don't have a mirrorless camera, I'm just using my MacBook camera. It was backwards, so I thought I'll take that down and we'll just go without a real title for the time being until I can get either figure out how to print out one that's backwards, then you see it actual in reverse and it looks forward to you. So that's going to be one of my big challenges coming up for the next podcast. So let's kick it off. We're underway with the podcast here. It's pretty exciting, and I'm sure people are just thrilled to hear me and see me doing this. So with that said, I do have a disclaimer. I'm not trying to offend anybody if I say something. I try to be humorous, and sometimes the jokes don't land. And so please forgive me. I'm not trying to offend. And if you're offended, I ask for some grace and forgiveness with that, because I know there's some sensitivities out there. And it's by no means my intention to offend you or make you dislike me or dislike my grandpa or anything like that. This is just for fun and sharing information and just I guess something to do out there now. And I think I'm not sure if it's national or federal law or state law, but I think people of my age are required to have a podcast now. It seems like there's a podcast for any topic and anyone out there. And I think I can't remember what the numbers were. I think they said there's 5 million podcasts available, but most of them, over half of them, I think, only have 3 episodes. So I'm going to try to beat that statistic and go for my own, once a week, maybe more if I get ambitious. It's probably going to be tough during the fall because I am going to be doing some hunting this fall. So I'm going to try to build my audience, and hopefully you'll stay with me and be infotained by all this great knowledge that I should be sharing in the near future. So, again, I'll refer you to the artwork. It's a printout. The work that I went into it, and there's me as a kid, and there's my grandpa, the Colonel, and that picture was taken in 1977, I believe, and I think I was 8, and I was born in 1969, and we lived in Billings, Montana, and we took a little drive up to Beartooth Pass. My grandma and grandpa were visiting, The family when my family lived in Billings, and my grandfather, he grew up and lived in Siston, South Dakota, thereabouts, that area for his whole life. And I moved around a little more with my mom and dad, and so they had come out to visit Billings, Montana, all the way from Siston, South Dakota, and doing some touristy things. We went up to the Beartooth Pass, the Rocky Mountains, the big pass that goes from Montana down to Wyoming. And I think those mountains are, I want to say they're like 13,000, 14,000 feet. So it's pretty high up there. Anyway, but it's the picture of the black and white photo is not, it's kind of lost on the situation. The mountains are kind of washed out in the background. So anyway, I'll try to get better pictures in the future, but for the time being, in order to get started, I just wanted to have something up there to get going and not just keep delaying the start of this great podcast. And I guess I started kind of getting into it there. So why do you call this The Colonel and the Kid? It's because of the memoir, and it is an excellent question of, how'd you come up with the topic of your podcast or the title of your podcast and what's going to happen. I guess that's just, it's The Colonel and the Kid. I'm the kid. I'm here. The Colonel's here in spirit, and just wanted to try to share some of the information that my grandfather shared with me over time, and just be able to, I don't know, give something back, maybe give something back with knowledge, a little humor here and there, and a little, I guess, just perspective of things that are going on in the world. News of the day, that sort of stuff. And, that said, one of the things that I was thinking about in, even with this podcast and life in general is just, it's the continuous improvement. In Japan, it's called Kaizen, and it's Kizen, and the Kai, the Kai, that means good, and then that means change, and the Zen means good. So it's change, good. It means you're constantly improving, hopefully changing for the good. And that's what I'm thinking about with this podcast. I'm trying to get better. This is day one of podcasting, and who knows how it's going to go. I've already rambled on 13 minutes, and I laugh at myself, and hopefully you can stick with me and enjoy some of this information that I'm going to be sharing and have a good laugh. But in the Kaizen practice, it's a philosophy, and how do you do that? I mean, one thing you do is you define the goal. And for my situation with this podcast, I'm defining the goal as, starting out. I got to start someplace. I'm just jumping in, doing this first podcast and putting it out there, and going to have to be able to evaluate it and be able to adjust, make small changes here and there as we go along. And then you keep going forward. You monitor your results as you change things and change the inputs and topics and ideas. And then you just keep moving forward. And as you go along, keep ticking along, and you optimize those changes as they go. You might have to go backwards a little bit sometimes. Sometimes you find out, well, that's not working. So then you go backwards and readjust and find a better way. But in the meantime, maybe you'd fall back to that idea that, hey, it works good enough for now, but we're going to try to improve and keep going. So that was a little thing that popped into my mind today, and I wanted to share that, just the Kaizen idea. Kai, change, Zen, good. That Zen feeling is like, that's a good feeling. So I think that was a pretty appropriate starting point for discussion in the podcast. And I wanted to move on to my first commercial read. Technically, we're sponsored by no one, but I thought I'd throw something in there, and hopefully they don't sue me for being associated with this podcast. But I have this first commercial read that I have for myself here. It's we're brought to you by Frosted Flakes. They're great. And now I'm just waiting for the money to roll in from Kellogg's and Frosted Flakes. I do like Frosted Flakes. Um, it's a constant battle between Fruit Loops and Frosted Flakes for my favorite cereal, which I ate as a child for a long time. I still have some. I rarely eat cereal anymore. I don't know why. I don't eat breakfast pretty much anymore. And in my mind, it's like that's a breakfast food. So maybe over in time, maybe I'll go back to eating some. I just don't eat breakfast. So it's kind of eliminated from my diet. Doesn't mean I still don't like them. I do, because I do have an open box, and rarely I will actually dump some into a bowl and just eat them without milk, just dry. So, and they're still really, really good. That's way too much about Frosted Flakes, and I'm hoping that again, that Kellogg's will avoid suing me for being associated with them and possibly being a negative. So anyway, if not, maybe I can just edit this whole part out. So yesterday I wanted to share some things that, and bring you up to speed with myself. I am retired now. I say retired. If you're watching this, I'm trying to put air quotes around the retired word, because officially I still work for the federal government, but through the DOGE process, the Department of Government Efficiency, and Elon Musk, that I was given basically early retirement back in February of 2025, a few months ago now. And so I'm still getting a full paycheck, but then I'll be retired at the end of the year. In theory, most of the DOGE people that weren't going to be able to retire are going to be, their payments are going to run out on September 30th. And I'm hoping that I don't get caught up in that, because by all the paperwork, I'm supposed to be fully employed through December 31st, 2025. And then January 1st, I will be retired from federal government. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm hoping there's no glitches, because I hate to have to try to chase down what's going on with the human resources part of that, to make sure that I can get everything as per the contract, as far as staying employed and get my full paycheck until it changes and transfers into full retirement in January. So wish me luck. I'm crossing my fingers for no problems, but I suspect there will be. So anyway, I wanted to talk about my busy day yesterday. And again, maybe I should use quotes around busy for those people that are just listening to this. I'm using air quotes around busy again, because again, I don't have a full-time job anymore, which is unbelievably cool. I mean, I can't say how much that it's nice to have just your time completely to yourself. It seems surreal, really, that there's no alarm to wake up to in the morning. Set your own schedule, do what you want to do. And I don't know. And I say that because no one gets to do what they want to do if they have any family or friends, or they're married or in a relationship, because you have to do what other people want to do sometimes too. But anyway, no job that I have to answer to, let's say, besides my new job of podcasting, which I'm hoping this to be such a big demand, a big audience, that I'll have to be doing this more than once a week. I don't know. That sounds like a job. Maybe I don't want to do that. Well, I'll think about it. Well, if there's such a demand, yes, we will. I promise I will do more. Anyway, I'm just looking at my production here. For those that are watching, you can see this in the background. It's got to be one of the, I don't know. I would be willing to bet there's not of those 5 million podcasts that are out there, I would say there's less than 1% that actually have a cuckoo clock in the background ticking away. And I don't know if that's... Did it cuckoo? Maybe I missed it. No, I don't think it's cuckooed yet. I'm 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 hoping it picks up on the mic, but it is backwards. It's 4 o'clock, and that's probably indicating that's like 8 o'clock. 8. So again, I need a mirrorless camera. So I'll be working on that in the future, depending on how this goes. So anyway, where was I? I was talking about my busy day yesterday. It was kind of funny because I have been in this ongoing battle with squirrels in my yard. I have a small garden, some tomatoes, some carrots, a few flowers. I have some jalapeno. Well, one jalapeno plant. They don't bother the jalapenos. I mean, they're smart enough not to eat the super hot peppers. But I have trapped 12 squirrels. Yesterday, I caught the 12th squirrel in my yard. It was a live trap. This is a completely humane, harmless trapping situation. It's a little metal cage, and they trip it. They're caught in a cage, and then I take them out, 3 miles away in the countryside and release them. Not sure if they're coming back. I haven't spray painted their tails or anything to try to see if they've made it all the way back. I don't think they're coming back, but like I said, I'm not 100% sure. There definitely is not as many squirrels around as there was at the beginning of the summer. And I mean, I'd routinely look outside and there'd be 3 or 4 squirrels on my back wall looking at me, and they're very jumpy. I could just barely get up and go to the patio door and look out, and they'd see that movement in the doorway, and they'd be scattering. And now I think I've caught maybe the last 1 or 2. So hopefully the tomatoes will be safe for the rest of the year, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. I might have to get the trap out again. I didn't put the trap out today. I was busy doing this podcast, getting ready to do the podcast, trying to get the setup going, and taking some notes about what to even talk about. So no trapping squirrels today. So tomorrow I may set out another trap and just see what happens. And some of the squirrels were so small, I would bait the trap with some peanut butter on a little plastic utensil, and they could get in and out of the trap and lick all the peanut butter off without triggering the trap. But yesterday I had taken extra precaution, and I had sprayed WD-40 on all the mechanisms of the trap for the trigger so that it was extra sensitive, and I was able to catch that, the very lightweight squirrel that was still out there. So that was part of my busy day yesterday, and got that squirrel. And I should mention where I am. I'm actually I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, having grown up mostly in South Dakota, but moved around a few places as a kid. And we'll talk more about that in the future. But right now, I've happily settled in my retirement house. There you go. I hope that picked up on the mic. The 4 o'clock cuckoo. It's actually about 5 after that clock is running a little slow, so I have more work to do to adjust that pendulum to make sure it keeps time. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. What is here nor there is where I am. I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico, like I said. And in my house, also known as Casa del Gregorio, and that means House of Gregory in Spanish. That's about the gist of my Spanish you got right there. So you're welcome for that Spanish lesson for today. So anyway, I've been working I'm doing a lot of chores. Yesterday was, like I said, was a very busy Monday. And been working on the the weeds in the back behind my wall, trying to hack them down because I'm a little worried that I do live in the desert here in Santa Fe, and it's dry, and these weeds can get pretty big. We've had a lot of rain this year, so the weeds have grown up quite large, and then they dry out. And I've been worried that they might be a fire hazard, so I went back there and chopped them all down. And I noticed, I don't know how long it's been out there, but I looked over the back wall yesterday, and there's a dead bird back there, and white feathers scattered everywhere. I don't know what it was. My guess was it was some domesticated chicken, because you can have chickens here in Santa Fe. There's none around my neighborhood as far as I know, but I think there's probably a block and a half away. There is some chickens I've heard, in somebody's backyard when I've been out for a walk. And I thought maybe a chicken had been stolen and killed by a coyote. There's coyotes that come around the neighborhood once in a while. I haven't seen one for a while, but this chicken, I think it was a chicken carcass. It was just white feathers, pretty big body. And it was just shredded carcass anyway. A lot of feathers, older feathers, and it's a mystery. I'm still trying to solve that mystery. Maybe it'll never be solved, because I actually did look at the carcass a little closer, and it was very rancid and rotting. There was maggots on it, and I just couldn't define exactly what kind of bird it was, but it was a bird that was killed behind my wall. So that was part of my busy day, trying to identify what bird had been killed in my backyard or behind my wall. It's not actually my property. It's the city property. It's an arroyo. And if you're not familiar with arroyos, that's another Spanish word. It's like an ephemeral stream. It's mostly dry, but once in a while in heavy rains, it'll run. So my yard backs up to an arroyo, and I don't have an immediate back neighbor, which is really super nice. If you ever have a chance to have that, it makes your the feeling of living in your house and in your backyard less claustrophobic by a lot. And my back neighbor is probably, I don't know, 100 yards away on the other side of the arroyo. So anyway, not really busy, other than the fact that I was investigating the death of a bird. But I did do some vacuuming in the house yesterday. And while I was vacuuming, started in the bedroom, came through into the living room, and was going to do the kitchen. And I saw that I had a line of ants going up my wall. So then I had to address that problem. They were coming up the wall into the trash can. And yesterday was trash day, or last night. Today was trash day, so last night I had to get the trash out, but it made me put the trash up earlier, so I got that out. I had to put a new bag in and stuff and spray for all the stupid ants that had somehow found something in the trash. I don't know. I guess that's the thrill of and the excitement of having your own house, is you get to deal with those kinds of problems. And this year has been an exceptionally bad year for ants. I mean, bad for me, good for the ants. There's ants everywhere. It seems like I've had more ants in my house than I care to admit. I don't think I'm a bad housekeeper, but apparently maybe the ants indicate otherwise. I guess I don't spray for ants outside. I don't really like to spray them because I have some lizards that eat the ants, and I don't want to spray the ants and then poison the lizards accidentally, or kill all the ants and then the lizards don't have any food. So I've been pretty lenient on ants outside the house, but then they tend to get into the house, and I guess I'm less tolerant of that, so I do spray them once in a while. Mostly I have little ant poison traps, and then they take the poison and bring it back to their nest, kill the nest, hopefully. So anyway, that was a busy day, dealing with the ants marching, vacuuming, dealing with my dead bird mystery. I mean, when you're retired, it's really exciting. You live a life just full of thrills. So, I mean, if you're not retired and you'd like to be, this is what you can look forward to. So, for today's update, I guess I heard earlier that Robert Redford passed away today. He was 89, and it's it's sad, but 89 years old, that's beating the averages, that's for sure. I guess in my mind, I was like, was there anyone that did not like him? I mean, he was pretty big time movie star, just handsome guy, and just lots of movies he did in his career. I don't know how many. I should have probably done some more research to figure out how many movies he did, but I did see, I did watch Jeremiah Johnson recently, that movie about him being a mountain man back in the late 1800s, early 18 or middle 1800s, something like that. So in the United States, trapping and subsistence hunting and that sort of thing. And it's pretty good. Pretty good show. I mean, it's okay. I mean, it wasn't the greatest movie I've ever seen, but there's a great meme about that where he gives a head nod on something. I think it's been memed and gift to no end, where he's looking and the camera zooms in on him. He's like staring, and he's like, and I really enjoyed that meme. You can use that for lots of things in response to people's texts and scenarios that require affirmation. So anyway, I do I guess I do feel closer to Robert Redford in some respects, because he was a Westerner, and I think he did a lot of you know he did a lot to promote the West itself. He lived in Utah. Pretty sure he lived in Utah, but he had the Sundance Film Festival in Park City, Utah, which was a big springboard for a lot of films and directors, actors, writers, things like that. So I do have some, I guess, resonance with him. I feel some resonance with him on that idea. And I did live in Utah for a year when I was in the fifth grade. So at Brigham City, Utah. So Utahns together. And I know he did some stuff here. He was producing some things in New Mexico, because New Mexico has a pretty big film industry. And I guess for me, I am a writer. I've written a memoir now. That's my first work of nonfiction, and I've written several other books, fiction novels, and I meant to grab some and have them here, but I can save them for a future podcast, because I have some other things to talk about, and which leads right into the second commercial read, which is, this podcast is sponsored by G-Man Productions, which is my production company, which it doesn't really exist, but kind of only exists in my mind, because if I do produce something someday, one of my movies or my books turn into a movie, I have written like 20 screenplays, and I've kind of reversed engineered some of the screenplays, about half of the screenplays, into books. So I do have 9 books that I've published, and they're available at Amazon.com. You can just Google Gregory L. Heitmann, and should be able, Google that, or you can go to Amazon and search Gregory L. Heitmann in the books. My name should come up, and my work should come up there. Should be able to find and follow me and see what I'm producing. I haven't put anything out new for a long time besides the memoir, but I am working on some stuff. So there should be something coming out sometime soon, maybe. Pretty busy in retirement, like I said, busy day yesterday dealing with all that stuff, and I should probably dedicate more time to actual schedules and doing things productive. But I'm recently retired, so I'm feeling my way around, trying to get used to this free time. So anyway, again, this podcast sponsored by G-Man Productions. Thank you. Like I said, I was going to I have my books here, and I was going to be able to hold some up and show you some of them, but that we're going to go ahead and move on from that and save that for a future podcast. And I thought maybe I'd just go ahead at this point, just maybe share the first chapter of the Colonel and the Kid memoir. And the first chapter is called The Nicknames and Introduction, but I wanted to read sort of the prologue to the book and just help give you some background on me and my life and who I am, where I am, how I got to be here, and just sort of the intro, so you're not just starting off cold and out of the blue about the memoir of the Colonel and the Kid. So this is my first work of nonfiction. I've written 9 other books, but this is my first time telling the truth, in quotes. I wrote this whole memoir, added photos with captions, and decided I might want to have a little background to kick things off. At least I should identify my immediate family members. So I decided to add a prologue. Simply stated, I am the author, Greg Heitmann, born in Gordon, Nebraska in 1969. Fleshing out the family tree just a bit, my parents are Gary and Carolee Heitmann. My mom's maiden name was Hagen, Carolee Hagen. My dad was born in Lake City, South Dakota, and graduated from Britain, South Dakota High School. My mom was born in Siston, South Dakota, and graduated from Siston High School. I have an older brother, Grady, and a younger brother, Garrett. I'm the middle child. This is a compilation of my memories relating to my grandfather, Edwin Palm Hagen Jr., my mom's father. My goal with the story was to preserve and honor the memory of my grandfather. I hope I have done it justice. I'll just jump right into the story, and with any luck, it makes sense as the narrative unwinds, and the details attempt to build a comprehensible chronicle. You might have questions. Being as close as I am to the history, I fear my details might sometimes get lost in the translation from my brain to the keyboard. So as I mentioned, you might have an inquiry or two. And if you do, please feel free to email me at g_mann_jr@yahoo.com. I will do my best to respond and provide answers. I have come to question my designation of this work as a memoir of my grandfather. It turns out it is more of a what made me who I am story. To be accurate, it is a psychological self-examination. I feel I have documented an electronic record of therapy sessions with myself, an unlicensed psychoanalyst of sorts. I fear I have revealed too much, but you know what they say, it is what it is. This is volume 1 of a 3-volume memoir. Each volume has 20 chapters, and eventually there might be a 4th volume. It's taken me 4 years to get to this point. I wanted to do an actual printed book with all the color photos and that was going to extend way beyond my budget. I was stuck. I didn't know what to do. 4 years had slipped past, and I finally decided I had to get this thing finished. Like a bolt from the blue, I was struck with the idea that I would just do an electronic version so that the photos could be fully appreciated. There's still costs involved with Kindle based on the size of the file being downloaded. So I decided to break up the memoir into multiple volumes in order to keep the costs down. Someday, I may get some printed copies made, but for the time being, this slice of history will be residing strictly in an electronic world. I hope you enjoy it. Chapter 1, The Nicknames and Introduction. Quote, titles are nicknames, and every nickname is a title. End quote. Thomas Paine. I struggled to start this memoir. Not that I didn't have the material. It was that I didn't know where to jump into the story. I finally settled on how I knew the man that was my grandfather, Edwin P. Hagen Jr. I had often heard him referred to as Colonel, Old-Timer, Junior. I remember my grandma routinely calling him Dad. That was typically in a scolding tone when he would sometimes tease us grandchildren. I just called him Grandpa. Junior is an obvious title bestowed upon him as the eldest namesake son, and this was not a common name I heard used, but it seemed to linger. It was mostly used by his siblings and friends in the community. The reference to my grandfather as Colonel is a nickname that reflected the respect and high regard family and friends had for my grandpa. Lieutenant Colonel Hagen retired, had a long and distinguished career in the United States Army. I'm going to have multiple chapters that will touch on the military side of my grandfather as I try to analyze my special connection with my grandpa Hagen, a relationship that I look back upon as near perfect as a grandparent-grandchild bond could be. Blinded by the ignorance of youth, it's taken me a long time to figure out how much I cherish the memories of my grandpa. But it's more than memories. Grandpa Hagen actually provided a blueprint for my life, at least something that could steer me in a direction that would cultivate success, satisfaction, and happiness. If I chose to acknowledge the model he quietly demonstrated. I like to think that I did unconsciously follow in his footsteps to realize my own accomplishments. I didn't know until I started writing this that Grandpa was affectionately known as Beeve to many of his family members. I guess he had a bit of an overbite when he was younger. His face must have aged away from it because I sure never noticed any oddities. And sometimes kids can typically spot these oddities. I'm a little envious of all the nicknames. I have never had a nickname unless you call Greg, shortened from Gregory, a nickname. Old Timer is the most interesting nickname for Grandpa. To me, anyway. As I sit here and contemplate the moniker as an adult now, but even as a child, it was fascinating. I never thought of Grandpa as old. In my memories, my ignorance of age and the parent-child system had no impact on my thought process, and the fact that Grandpa was my father's father did not register in my mind during those early childhood years. Maybe I was a very slow learner. That's probably one of the reasons I look back on my childhood so fondly, especially the time spent with my grandpa. So I plucked the title of Old Timer out of the pile of nicknames Grandpa was known for and use it with fondness in my personal compendium of my memories of how I remember my family history. This leads me to my disclaimer. This is a true story, my first work of nonfiction, at least in my mind. I'm not going to swear on the reliability of the facts that my brain tells me are true. It makes me laugh to think that the interpretation of some of these events that occurred 45 years ago. But along with those laughs, I sit here and type this with a smile on my face that I know will be there as long as I continue to document the story. I'm not trying to incorporate anyone else's point of view in this memoir. I'm sure my brothers and my cousins could add to the story, but I choose to tell the story from my perspective of a wide-eyed, naive boy that grew up as lucky as he could be. I was born in 1969, a year that man set foot on the moon, and this era fit me to a T. How fortunate was I to come along when I did. A suitable time in history, along with a perfect family that provided an ultimate environment. What even motivated me to try to document my relationship with my grandpa? I think it finally hit me how great a person he was when I turned 50 years old. He made me feel special, and it did shape my life. At the minimum, I thought this was a project that could help me to forever preserve the legacy of the man that was my grandpa. Just a sliver of his life. My hope is to be able to execute the story in order to provide a laugh and a smile to the reader as they get a peek into my life. Maybe it will allow you, the reader, to remember your own grandparents with the fondness that you may have forgotten. And even beyond that, maybe there's a chance that you can end up being an old-timer for your own grandchildren. And I end this chapter with another quote. That's been the system that I use for these chapters. I start with a quote and I end with a quote. So this quote is from William Shakespeare. Quote, "What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet." End quote. So anyway, that's the first chapter of The Colonel and the Kid. Hope to keep moving forward with this, and like I said, I have 20 chapters that are published on Kindle, and not sure what the going rate for is for the electronic version. You can buy that for maybe like $5 and get a head start on any of this audio book that I'm providing for free through these podcasts. I encourage you to do that because then you can see all the nice color photos, the historic photos. I think they're probably, I scanned a lot of different photos in. They're probably historic in the fact that they're over 50 years old, many of them, since I'm 56 years myself now. I mean, it's hard. I say that and I'm just in disbelief of my own, my own age. So there you have that. I'll cut that, maybe I can cut that audiobook out separately for some certain clips that for separate podcasts, but it'll reside in the middle of this one for now until I get some more skills and even how to do that. So on to the next portion of the show. We're going to go, this is September, so you know what that means. It's football season, and specifically it's NFL season, and we're coming up on the start of week 3. It's Tuesday today, so the first game of the week will be Thursday night football. And the preview of Thursday night football is, once again, you my commercial read. This is brought to you by the NFL, which is apparently not sponsoring me at all, but I'm just mentioning the NFL because I really respect their the power and the way they manage their business. I reluctantly follow it. I keep telling everyone I'm stopping. I'm like an addict that can't quit the NFL. A lot of stuff I don't like what they do and certain things, and I have a lot of problems with the just the way some of their attitudes are. But I'm a sucker. I just keep watching the NFL, and you'll come to know as the memoir goes on, that I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. Grew up, that's my local team growing up. In the old days, you were only able to watch what the local stations showed you. So that's where I grew up, in an area where they showed the Minnesota Vikings. So I grew up a Vikings fan, still am a Vikings fan, fortunately or unfortunately. And I consider it a blessing and a curse following the NFL. Anyway, that aside, I will excitedly say that, yeah, it's pretty fun watching football and following it, and doing some of the fantasy teams and fantasy survivor picks and just picking games. I do very little gambling because I don't feel like I can afford to gamble now that I'm on a fixed income being retired. But anyway, here's the preview for Thursday night football. It's Dolphins at Bills. It's the third week of the season, but it's already desperation time. I mean, I've been hearing that the Dolphins coach, I think it's Mike Daniel. Does that sound right? Hopefully that's right. I'm not going to worry about it and trying to edit that if it's wrong. Sorry, Mike, if I said your name wrong or it's not even you. But the coach for the Miami Dolphins is on the hot seat already. That's what they're saying, that if they play on Thursday night, they'd have a 10 days off till the next game, so that if he doesn't win against the Buffalo Bills, he could be fired. And good luck, because Buffalo Bills are probably the team to beat this year. They have Josh Allen at quarterback. He's the defending MVP for the league last year at quarterback. So it's a tall task for Miami to go ahead and try to win. But this game I would never bet on, because you just don't know in that locker room when it comes to Dolphins playing up there and in Buffalo. It's them against the world. Their coach's job may be on the line, so they may be able to pull it off, and may see an upset this weekend, or this Thursday night, not this weekend. So at the same time, you have Buffalo. They're 2-0 in the year. They're already cruising. They had a tough first game. They came back from 15 points down in the fourth quarter and won against Baltimore, another Super Bowl contender. So you could be in a situation where Buffalo's already like, oh, these guys are nothing. We're going to win this in a walkover. So I don't know. Again, I don't provide gambling advice or investment advice for stocks or anything like that, but especially this game, stay away from it if you can. I mean, if you were to force me to bet on this game, I would still bet on Buffalo. And I don't know what the point spread is, but I would just, you know, put $2 on the money line for Buffalo to win and win probably $1.10 as winnings. So anyway, I wanted to mention the Vikings notes because I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. Like I said, the blessing and the curse, whether that's good or bad, you can decide. And you can feel sorry for me, I guess. If, you know, as a Minnesota Vikings fan, been to the Super Bowl 4 times, have 4 losses, similar to the Buffalo Bills, but the Vikings have only been to the Super Bowl once in my lifetime, and I think I was 8 and really wasn't paying much attention. And there's a lot of great history there because they got beat by John Madden. And John Madden, he helped really launch the NFL into like super orbit. They were already in orbit. They were a big deal, but super orbit when he became an announcer and went into the booth and did all the big games for the NFL. And then they did the Madden football, a computer game, which is still a huge deal every year. It's just amazing. I stay away from computer games pretty much. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I have an addictive personality and I could get stuck doing that and do nothing else by just playing video games. So I just don't do it. Don't do those video games anymore. Like when I was a kid, we had an Atari and a Nintendo. Some of you probably don't even know what that is. Atari. What's this guy talking about? But anyway, you can look it up. The Vikings update. J.J. McCarthy, the first-year quarterback. He was a rookie last year, got injured in preseason, sat out the whole preseason. Had Sam Darnold at quarterback, went 14-3, but is I guess probably a third-tier quarterback and comes to the starters of the NFL. Sam Darnold, they let him go to Seattle, and he signed a big, huge contract with Seattle Seahawks. And I was glad. I just don't think he's got it in to be a Super Bowl and a playoff competitor. So they're starting J.J. McCarthy, who immediately got hurt in the second game of the year, and now he's going to be out for a while. I guess he's got a bad ankle. I'm not sure if he's going to go on injured reserve for a couple weeks or 4 weeks. I think if you go on the IR, you're out for 4 weeks. Have not heard if that's going to happen, but unfortunately for the Vikings, they have a backup quarterback by the name of Carson Wentz. And when they signed him this year, I sent a text to my brother, Garrett, and I said, well, I see the Vikings have given up on the year already because they signed Carson Wentz as a backup. And wherever that guy goes, he's a curse. It's the Carson Wentz curse. Wherever he goes, that team is a fail. Total failure for the team. I don't know what it is. I think he's just bad luck. He was a champion for the Philadelphia Eagles, but he got hurt. He tore his ACL in a game, and that was the Nick Foles year. Nick Foles came off the bench and took the Eagles to this unprecedented victory in the Super Bowl over the New England Patriots that year. And from then on, Carson Wentz's career was basically as a backup. And it's just what I consider an albatross upon any team's neck that he ends up on. So unfortunately, Carson Wentz is going to be starting for the Vikings. Kevin O'Connell, the coach for the Minnesota Vikings, he's known as the quarterback whisperer. So we'll see what happens. I'm very curious about what might happen. I'm hoping I have to eat my words and that the Vikings will just be going on an unbelievable run, and J.J. McCarthy will sit on the bench, and Carson Wentz will lead the team to the first Super Bowl. But I live here in reality, and I don't see that happening. Carson Wentz has some pedigree. He was a national champion with North Dakota State University, the hated rival of my own college, South Dakota State University Jackrabbits. So I already dislike him on that level. So I'm just not a fan. Let's just say that. Could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong for the sake of all Vikings fans out there. I hope I am wrong, dead wrong. And this is something that's going to be um, something that will be historic for Vikings fans. And we can all wear our purple and gold proudly the rest of the year and then have a special parade in February as Super Bowl champs. So anyway, on that note, I think I'm going to wrap it up. I'm looking at the clock and it's 55 minutes. And I can't believe I've rambled on that long. I'm hoping this isn't a total fail. I hope the levels are okay and the microphone's working and I haven't talked in the wrong direction and you can hear this. So if not, it still is going to make me laugh. And that's part of my, what I feel my mission is, to provide a few laughs and have fun, and hope you enjoyed the conversation as one way of a conversation as it could be. But I wrap with this, and thank you for listening to the Colonel and the Kid podcast. My name is Greg Heitmann. Glad you're here, and I hope you see you next time. And I ask that you just go out there and be active. Take a positive attitude towards your life. Go out and do. Knock, and the door will be opened. Seek, and you will find. Ask, and you shall be given. See you next time on the Colonel and the Kid.